Okay, we're about done. One more day of practice, and then a meeting and a walkthrough, and then we go. So we're ready to go. If you're all ready for a game, you probably want to report something besides my boring comments after practice. See you over I'm bored too. Let's play some games. Let's play some football. So anyway, you guys can ask me anything, and I'll answer most everything.
Anything other than the teleconference this morning, huh?
That's right.
I don't know, with Washington and Gathers, are they going to be playing this weekend?
Yes. That's our plan.
Would you still anticipate Hunter is the only guy that can't play this weekend?
He's the only one I'd rule out right this minute. Yeah. I don't, we're talking about scholarship guys. That might have played, maybe not. I don't know if he'll play or not. He was in too deep.
So just precautionary with Jay too. He's okay as far as
Jay. Well, you just got to see how everybody's feeling. It is a while still before the game, but I think a lot of his might end up being a game day thing. Just seeing how he's doing, or he may by tomorrow be great. Now today we weren't trying to go with any kind of tempo today. We purposely went with low tempo and route running, emphasize a little more run game on offense, and then tomorrow will be the last day we'll have them try to run in timeout routes. But we didn't want to do that 2 days in a row when we were ahead of schedule.
Buffalo's coach said he would like all 66 players that he's bringing to at least get some action this one. What's your thoughts about, as far as your guys? How many different players would you like to be able to get in this first game?
Well, our goal is to win the game, and then we'll go from there. Our goal is to win the game.
Another question, kind of from a perception, just kind of a different question. I know you, as coaches, you don't really pay attention to what's being said in media and maybe, outside of these walls. But from a national perspective, how would you like your program to be thought of by people outside of the state of Georgia from in the national arena, so to speak?
Well, one of the best. That's what you want. You want to be considered one of the best.
you mentioned Lou Tepper a little bit yesterday. I'm guessing you guys have never crossed paths in as far as coaching, not just like a convention or something.
You know, he was at, I think he was at LSU a minute.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to think if we crossed paths during that time frame. I think we might have. I'm trying to remember.
Just late 90s.
Late 90s.
Yeah.
No, if he did.
He's going to turn 67 next week.
Is that right?
Yeah. You think you still have the fire in your belly when you're getting up to 70 to want to stay in this?
Well, I think if you're the coordinator, you have to be. You know what I mean? You don't have a choice. You got to go.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't count it out. I wouldn't count it out.
Mark, do you know who's handling kickoffs for you?
I'm pretty sure.
And
I know it's down to 2. between what I keep forgetting his name, Marshall Morgan and Lily. Yeah. Very honestly, I'm not sure. And I'll tell you after the game. I'll tell you why later. But I won't tell you now.
That's interesting.
Mystery. You like mystery? No, we just don't know. I just haven't asked Coach O, Ahmedadi. They both kicked well enough to do it.
Is there any chance you do the alternating system like you did last year with the two?
I don't think that'll be the plan going in, but I wouldn't be shocked to see both of them kick off.
you mentioned wanting to be known as one of the best. Last year, did you think the defense was statistically it was number 5?
Right.
Did you think it was top 5 national in your mind?
Well, like you said, statistically we were, and it's kind of how people rank offensive units, defensive units. You know, yards per game, points per game. Of course, I think it was yards per game, total defense, which is a good stat, you know. Points per game is probably a better stat. And then, you know, whether you win the championship or not is probably the best stat, really. But yeah, I think that our defense has absolutely gotten a lot of attention, positive attention for the job they've done. And I think they're building a reputation, a strong reputation. I think there's a lot of anticipation for this group that everybody is writing about. And it's mainly because we did finish top 5 in total defense, and most everybody's back. So that's why we're getting the attention, and we'll just see how we do. And I've said it a lot, and I try to put it in the context of the entire team when I make this comment. But you know, you could be number 1 in America in defense statistically, but if it gets to you get in a game where you got to have a stop right now. This drive, you need to stop. Okay, great defenses get the stop when you need the stop, whether it's to win the game or whether it's to get the ball back for the offense to try to win the game. But the same thing's true for the offense. If that defense gets that stop and gets the ball one last time, and you got to kick a field goal or better to win the game, you got to do it at that moment of truth, you know. And so that's what's going to be. That's what's going to, you know, kind of define in my mind whether we're a great defense, offense, special teams, or team in general. But statistically, you know, I mean, that is a good indication of how you're doing on a game-to-game basis. But I'll tell you what, if you look at statistics of our points per game last year, and I don't know if anybody ever did the math at the end of the year, but it'd be good if one of y'all did it. I think it'd be a good story. But if you looked at every single point that was produced off of a kicking situation that where the other team scored against us, or a pick 6, or maybe a fumble inside the 5, and maybe you say 3 points at least were attributed to that situation, it'd be interesting to see where we would have been ranked, you know, nationally from a scoring defensive perspective. And scoring defense is a team thing, obviously. Special teams are involved in that. Offense is involved in that. Same thing with scoring. You know, you're scoring offense. If your defense gets a bunch of points for you, or if your special teams gets points for you, you know, then your scoring average goes up, you know, for offense. So a lot of those stats are team stats too.
You guys, I guess, renewed Blake Saylor's scholarship as a walk-on.
Yes.
What does he bring to? I know he's a kind of special teams guy.
Great. Well, that's it. He's a great special team player. He's a great special team player, and he's continuing to work hard on his craft as a cornerback and getting better as he goes there. But he's, without question, he's one of our better special teams players last year, and we expect him to be that again this year. We renewed Brandon Harton as well. I think I mentioned all the names of the guys when we gave out those 7 names that came out. I think they were in there. Okay, they were in there.
We've probably asked you 5 times with every single position group over the last month. But is there, I mean, now we're just a couple days away. Is there one that you're particularly intrigued to see how so-and-so is going to fare on Saturday?
Well, kickers.
Is that number 1?
Kickers and punters, yeah, I'm really interested to see that. I'm very interested to see how that goes. It's going to be fun to watch our backs. It's going to be fun to watch our backs. Those are probably the top 2 right now for me.
Of course, then Merritt's going to start at fullback. But how much has Quavon Hicks maybe closed the gap a little bit on for us?
He's going to close the gap. The more he learns, the more he's going to close the gap, because he's a very talented guy, and he just has a lot of the physical attributes that you want in a fullback, and he's got the right kind of attitude and mentality towards the physical contact that it takes. And now when he gets to the point where he doesn't make the mental errors that he's still making. And I'm not, when you make a comment like that, and people say it's bad, but you just you're learning. You're a freshman. You make mistakes as you go. You can't hardly do anything in life without making a mistake along the way. And so he's still learning. But the more he learns and the more comfortable he gets, the more playing time he's going to get.
With as much talk as we've heard about this year's theme of it being a player-driven team, have you actually noticed anything like that you hadn't noticed in previous years that separates this?
Well, there's been a lot of times when guys, younger guys especially, don't do it the Georgia way. They don't do it the way they're supposed to. The players know it, the coaches know it, but I've seen more players, veteran players, say get back in there and do it again, or don't you dare quit, or if you're on the ground, you get up. You don't loaf at Georgia or whatever it might be, or don't lose contain, or some kind of key coaching point where a guy makes the mistake and they're like, "Nah, get back in there and do it again." And I've seen a lot of that.
So that has been a real help to the coaching staff in that way.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, coaches are still out there.
Yeah.
They're still out there driving. I can promise you. And even the best of the best need a kick in the rear once in a while. But there's a lot of it coming from the players, which is super.
Coach, it doesn't seem like you've had quite as many, serious like quad injuries, groin injuries, leg injuries that you may have had in the past. How much do you attribute that to Coach Armstrong and what he's done?
I've been not wanting to make a comment on that yet.
It's almost time.
I've said I'm not superstitious, but I don't want to start bragging about the lack of pulled muscles.
Even 3 days before the game?
I just don't want to do it. But I think it's a good observation, I'll say that. I think what you said was a good observation.
One more, anybody?
I'll say this. To this point, most camps to this point, we've had a lot less of that kind of thing. And it probably does have a lot to do with what we did in our off season, and I would think Coach Armstrong would be one to credit, along with the guys' willingness to get in there and do it and be coached. Now that he's here,